Oh, so hearing that woman say, well, look, we might have to go to the Chinese, you know. Makes me think, listening to Chris Smith on the conflict islands. It's on the Current Affair last night as well. Conflict Island, that Australian businessman, entrepreneur says, oh, look, these are islands actually in Papua New Guinea. Look, I think the Chinese might buy my islands. So I think the Australian government should pick up the phone because there are less than 1,000 kilometres from Cairns, national security risk. Make me an offer. I'll give them a bargain below the 36 million. I can understand why Penny Wong's not keen on picking up the phone to him. Sounds to me like a squeeze. Really, great way of selling islands that you no longer want, isn't it? Chinese might buy them, national security risk. Make me an offer. I'd be a little sceptical about that one. I'd be sceptical too about Anthony Albanese's plans for the country, you know, but so many people seem infinitely more impressed by him drinking a beer at a pop concert than they are worried about what he's actually doing to this country or plans to. You hear their cheers as Albanese last night drank a beer at a Gang of Youths concert at Sydney's Enmore Theatre while wearing a Joy Division t-shirt. Albanese rocks, but I tell you what, this show is about getting behind that sort of spin and telling you the substance. And one other way that Albanese, talking about substance, could change the face of this country is by supercharging immigration to levels that you have never seen in your life. Now, we've already had our permanent immigration program supercharged over the past decade and a half, absolutely choking our cities, as you've seen. And now employers, though, backed by the ACTU, are screaming for even more, saying they just can't get enough workers now. The Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry says we desperately need to import 200,000 workers now every year, more skilled workers particularly. And they say this is going to make us all better off, except, of course, when you check out the top 10 in-demand jobs listed by the government, priorities for immigration, you're right to get suspicious. They include kindergarten teachers, chefs, childcarers, and aged care workers. True, they're now at the bottom of the list, but they're people who aren't necessarily highly skilled at all. Some of those jobs are in fact little better than professional servants. So we'll have jobs for them today, but maybe not in 5 years, and what are they going to do then? Is this really how we solve what's called our skills crisis? Seriously, pouring in 200,000 people a year, 2 million in a decade, where are they all going to fit? Yet this idea looks more and more like getting approved at the Albanese government's Jobs Summit next week. Joining me is economist Judith Sloan, a former Productivity Commissioner, Board Director, now columnist with the Australian newspaper. Judith, thank you so much for joining me. I mean, we've got bosses saying they can't get enough workers. Is the answer really to bring in 200,000 people a year, most of them essentially people to cook for us, mind our toddlers, and wash our parents?
Well, Andrew, I think the short answer, of course, is no. But, you know, I think people, and I'm sure your viewers actually do get this, that there are essentially two components to the immigration program. One is the temporary line. So they are the temporary workers, the students, which are very substantial in number, the backpackers. So they're the key ones. And then there are the permanents, right? So what is being proposed is extraordinary. So the chamber, I think it's the AI group, they want the number of permanent skilled migrants to go up from currently about 110,000 to 200,000. But that is in addition to the temporary workers. See, they're all uncapped, those programs. And in fact, if you look at the visas being issued, in terms of international students, we're pretty much back to where we were pre-pandemic. So what the ABS does is add this up, figure up, and we get what's called the net overseas migration. So that's the number of people who stay here for at least 16 months. Now, it was running at about 250,000, which was an extraordinarily large number. But really what is being proposed is maybe up to 400,000 because we've got this uncapped temporary program as well.
400,000. That's the size of a small city. I mean, this is just astonishing. Now, we're told, look, don't you worry about that. Bringing in this many immigrants to levels we've never seen before is going to make the country richer. You've done the numbers. Is that true?
Well, actually, I'm amazed that we don't stop the conversation here and now, because if you read on other pages of these newspapers, there is actually a crisis that is occurring at the moment in terms of rental accommodation. And I'm talking about just, locals, just, ordinary Australian families who are either getting booted out of their place or need to move. And there is really a crisis in rental accommodation. So I'm not sure where these additional migrants are going to go, by the way. But, here is the key to all of this. Obviously, if you increase migration, it increases the size of the economy. But what we have to worry about is per capita GDP, per capita national income and the like. And the research is pretty clear on that yes, it increases the size of the economy. It doesn't do much to per capita income.
That's right. The bigger pie that we make has got now to be shared by a lot of other people, new people that have come in for whom we have to find work and create schools and room on the trains. We've got to do the transport infrastructure to fit it all in. We've got to have bigger hospitals then, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's a Ponzi scheme. Judith Sloan, you've been writing about this for ages, and I'd urge people to follow your columns in The Australian, because this is not an issue that we should just let slide. Thank you so much for your time.